Hey, Brian.
Hey,
Hello, everyone. Are you ready to kick this thing off?
I am. I'm excited.
I am too. Very, very good. So, yeah, everyone watching the live stream or the replay of the live stream, thanks for being here. And with that, let's get going. Hello, and welcome to Python Bytes, where we deliver Python news and headlines directly to your earbuds. This is episode 390, recorded July 2nd, 2024. And I'm Michael Kennedy.
And I'm Brian Ocken.
And this episode is brought to you by Scout APM. Thank you so much to them for supporting the show. We really appreciate them. And if you want to attend live, get your comments in the episode, then check out pythonbytes.fm/live, usually Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, like we're recording right now, Brian.
Yeah.
And please visit pythonbytes.fm right on the homepage, click on newsletter, subscribe to our newsletter. We've got lots of interesting information that we share with you. And we're going to be doing some kind of giveaway that we have yet to determine and soon when we reach maybe a major milestone there. So that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
And
That'd be great.
Yeah. With that, Brian, you want to kick us off? What do you got?
Sure. Well, let's get into let's talk about strings for a minute. So, this one is from an article written by Veronica Olson, and it's an article called "Joining Strings in Python, moment." And I actually just really enjoyed this story because it it tricked me up, and she says, "I've been writing Python code for 17 years, and I learned something new recently from a Mastodon conversation. So what is the new thing? So the idea is around joining strings. So let's say you've got your like, and we do this. I do this all the time. So you've got some input from a file, and her example is you got some input from a file, and you're going through and just using the read generator thing. So f equals open, and you get like this thing that you can read with, and so she's using taking x for x, or I usually put line for line in f, and then also doing like some logic on it within a generator, which is kind of cool. And once I learned this, I use it all the time. So you go through as a using the file as a generator to pull out lines, and then only collect the lines that you care about, and then joining it in at the end. And so like this discussion really is when you've got a whole bunch of line strings that you want to concatenate together with like new lines or something, and is um, you just create a list of them and then join it. But if you're using a generator, you can use a generator and pass that to join also. So the little trick here is whether or not you should use a list comprehension. So these two methods is you're joining a generator out of the file, or you use a list comprehension within it, and the only difference is these little brackets in there to create a generator or to create a list comprehension. So I would my first reaction is that it really probably doesn't matter, but the list comprehension might be maybe I have no idea which one's slower or faster. But the odd thing is
If it's
that
a huge text file, Brian, if it's a huge text file, it could be a memory. If you had a gig of text, right?
yeah,
Then you potentially would be loading more than that in memory with the brackets, but not with the parentheses, right?
that's what I thought, right. So, so she used a sample file of like the King James version of the Bible or something. Um, yeah, which is 800,000 words long, and a ballpark of 3,000 pages. Anyway, 200 million words. Okay. Um, so, did a little timing here as to whether or not you want to use a generator or list comprehension for this, and looking at the memory output. So the memory itself is as expected. The generator uses less memory. The list comprehension gradually grows, and you're using more memory. Um, okay, so far it seems like it's doing what we think it might be doing, but But the weird bit is when we go down and actually time this stuff, is that the generator version without and if you compare the times for the generator and the list comprehension, the generator one is slower by like 16%. Weird. Why?
That
So
is
the
weird, especially since the list has to like you allocate the list, you fill the list, you reallocate the list, you copy it over. Like growing the list over and over and over is, although as a list
yeah.
comprehension, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
So
Anyway, that's crazy.
and then adding more mystery to the mystery is that instead of join, if you use all as the thing that you're using across the entire list or generator, it's behaving as expected. The generator is faster than the comprehension. So what's going on? So the discussion went online, and Trey Hunter said, you should know something about join. Join is weird in that the C Python implementation of join is a two pass because generators you can't they get exhausted and you can't use them again. So it has some little tricks that it uses to do a two pass over the generator, and so therefore it is the same. The join is the same as creating a list, and we know that comprehensions are a little bit better than actually just creating a list. So that little bit better is the reason why the the comprehension version is faster. Well, wait, I have no idea why. I should have read more closely, but there's something about this that makes it faster in when you're using joins to go ahead and use a comprehension faster. Uh, uh,
Interesting.
Weird, and it's only in C Python. Apparently, that's not true for PyPy and uh, yeah, apparently you can. I don't know how they're doing it without it, but PyPy and some others implementations of Python do not use this. But
Interesting.
anyway,
I don't
weird
see
quirk.
that it's I don't see it tested here, but the WebAssembly one would be quite interesting, right? For
Yeah,
Pyodide and PyScript and those kinds of things. Definitely.
yeah. Okay, so interesting inside baseball around. I guess around if you want to do memory, whether you care about speed or memory efficiency, and also
It's weird that you got to choose though.
it is weird that you have to choose. But also, just in case you haven't seen this, this is basically the standard format for if you want to iterate through strings and combine them all into one, is to either throw them in a list or throw them in a comprehension or throw them in a generator and use join to combine them with a new line. If you haven't seen that before, that's a good thing to stick in your tool belt.
Yeah. And our Windows friends can put /r/n join for their Windows line ending.
I'm on Windows. I don't do that, but
I
okay.
know. It should still work.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, what do you got for us next?
Well, I'm afraid I have some hard truths for you, Brian. Just like you've learned, it's a hard truth that generator doesn't always give you the advantages you thought. These are 10 hard truths to swallow that people won't tell you about your brand new software engineering job. So this is focused at students who just recently graduated or who are getting into software development. And that might sound like a somewhat niche crowd, but if you look at the PSF JetBrains survey, it's like the biggest group of people are like, well, you've been coding for 3 years or less, which is crazy. All right. Anyway, let's go through the 10. This is by Mensur Duravec. Pretty good. A pretty good article here. And basically says I was talking with a bunch of students and they were all psyched about like startup culture, pizza parties and stuff. And
Yeah.
Well, yes, but the thing you're going to do most of the time, writing code. So here are the 10. First, college will not prepare you for the job. So just imagine your instructor spends you go to college to learn how to swim. Your instructor spends a ton of time teaching you about the moves, reciting the moves, asking you questions about the moves. After 5 years, you get a piece of paper that proves your swimming skills, and then you got to go in the pool and you just flail around, right? A little bit like that. Also, a lot of the curriculums are pretty far behind. I remember when I was in college, I said, can I please take C++? It's in the 90s. They're like, no, you have to take Fortran. It's the most important language you'll ever learn. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, well, let me try some CS classes. Like, well, you got to do Lisp. I'm like, really? Can I please take something like more modern? Like, no. Right. So a
Oh, you should
lot
have
of the
embraced the Lisp.
yeah, I'm still not embracing the Lisp. I like parentheses, but not that much.
Okay.
Anyway, so look, a lot of these folks who are professors have not been professional software developers in the engineering sense, and so the skills that they teach you are valuable, but it's not the same
Right.
as like working day to day. This one I think is probably people probably don't realize that much is you rarely get to work on greenfield projects.
Yeah.
You get brownfield projects. That is, you get some project that is not a 3-week project, but it's something that's been around since 2003, and you're dropped in to work on some features, and every time you poke it, it's like a rickety house of cards. You got to be super careful, right? How does that fit
Oh,
with your understanding?
yeah, definitely true. That's one of the reasons why I encourage people to do contribute to open source projects, even in large ones, because you have to get used to huge code bases. You have to get used to getting thrown in the deep end and fix a bug, and you don't even know what the code does. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
essential.
Speaking of which, there's a fantastic picture for this. So let me try to zoom that out for a second so we can see here, Brian. So check this link out, folks. So it's like this crazy Rube Goldbergian thing. There's a button to start the app, and it's got all these weird wires, and there's like an elephant that's suspended, and the wire cuts the elephant loose, which drops off a rock, and there's a security layer. And there's the core logic since 2003. There's all these like third-party bits that are largely controlled by aliens. And then there's a cloud, and below the cloud, you can see just the base of the building. There's 2 new engineers with a little button that's supposed to like kick this thing off or something. It says, how hard can it be? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So check that out. All right. Coming back. Nobody gives a blankety blank about your clean code. You may focus on it a lot, but really your job is to deliver features. You're expected to write clean code, but you're not going to get like promotions and stuff from the business people because you write clean code. It's because you deliver value, right? Although part of that value is clean code.
That's true, but you've got to maintain it too. So you should be
Yes,
happy
you
with
got to
what you're
live
writing.
with it. So here's my experience. Not how do you lie, but how do you phrase things like estimates and stuff so that you're in a position so you don't have to write terrible code constantly, right? So, for example, with testing or a little bit of refactoring, it's just like I would just work that into my estimates. How long is it going to take? It's going to take a week. Well, it probably takes 3.5 days, but then if you were to bust it out, right? But if you're going to put in the tests and do it right, it'll take a week. So how long does it take? It takes a week. You know, that kind of thing. Sometimes you'll work with incompetent people. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yes. And sometimes that person will be your boss. And so,
That's even tougher. I'll tell you a story, Brian. I used to do in-person training classes. And there was a person who was in this class as part of a team, software development team from a medium-sized company, one of these 50 million yearly revenue type companies or something. And during that class, we were doing like exercises. I'd do a presentation for an hour. They'd spend maybe half an hour working on something, and round it goes. So there's this part where you need a variable that has a string value. This person has been working for at least 6 months, I think a lot longer, as a professional software developer in this language. And I say, okay, you got to create a variable there. And you need to assign a string to it that says, XYZ, the value of the string is XYZ. So they just write variable name equals XYZ with spaces and all sorts of stuff. Like, no, you can't just type it into the editor. You have to put quotes around it. Well, what do you mean? You have to put quotes around this. Like, how have you been a professional software developer at a proper company for over 6 months to a year and not know that sentences with spaces have to have quotes around them to put them into code as a piece of text? Like, could you imagine that person is like reviewing your code? Like, oh my goodness, dude.
Yeah.
No, that was a rough one. Anyway, sometimes, maybe not to that extreme, but you will probably end up working with ineffective people or people that don't care about your process or people that don't care about your clean code or whatever, right? All that stuff's there. Get used to being, number 5, get used to being in meetings for hours. This is an important part of software development jobs. Most meetings are not productive because you're being forced to be there by a person whose only job is to have meetings. That's their job. That's their work, right? Which is, however, other meetings with your team members and stuff, planning out code and whatnot is pretty good.
Yeah, if you're the one responsible for the meeting, be okay with cutting it short. Getting everybody together and leaving in 10 minutes is fine. Just remember that.
Yep.
Okay.
100%. Okay. I feel like you should have done this article.
No, I'll be the heckler in the background. It's fine. It's good.
They will ask you for estimates a lot of times. Right. I told you about this one. I mentioned this. This is fun. So there's a great cartoon for this one too. This is also a good, like basically the joke segment. It says, would you rather, for better estimates, we switched from measuring story points to a different style. We now ask, how many duck-sized horses are you willing to fight rather than implement this task? Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds silly, but I kind of think of it as it's actually kind of practical.
Yeah.
It's using your desire to avoid negative stimuli more than your ability to predict something. I love it. That one was only a two duck-sized horse battle. All right. Bugs will be your arch enemy for life because they come from different places. Could be your own code, but it could be third-party libraries. It could be hardware failure, electricity, all sorts of things. Uncertainty will be your toxic friend. So could be implementing something you never worked on. Could be getting transferred to a new project with new technologies. It could be a move to a new company. It could be a bug report the day you need to finish the work. Gonna break the deadline. Job security, evolution technology, all these things totally resonate. Number 9, it will be almost impossible to disconnect from your job. So, yeah, that's rough. Yeah, but it's true because you're thinking about it, right? However, this one a lot of these come with actually good advice on what to do to combat it or to counteract it or to deal with it.
Oh, that's good. Because one of the best things I ever did was I don't have the ability to get email on my phone now, my work email.
Oh, that's nice.
And because I was checking it all the time, even when I was off work, and that was bad. So
yeah, that's bad. Last one, number 10, you will profit more from your soft skills than your coding skills. Not that your coding skills are important, but
yeah, definitely.
Soft skills are tough and they're also required. So things like teamwork, learning mindset, time management, emotional intelligence and empathy, approachability, persistence, confidence, all these things amongst a whole zillion others. Anyway, if you're new, I think this is a pretty good article. I didn't go through all the little details, but these 10 concepts. I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
I think the soft skills probably ought to have been at the top. Being able to communicate well and stay positive and don't be a jerk is huge. To the ability to not be a jerk under pressure. That was a struggle for me. Also embracing deadline, like that people are going to ask you how long it's going to take. You just have to learn how to do that. Estimating is part of the job. It sucks. It's wrong, but you get better at it. And are also okay about telling it. I mean, it can be ballparks. Is it going to be 2 days or is it going to be 2 months? Pick. People just need to know. So
yeah. Absolutely.
It's good.
All right. Before we move on to the next one, let's talk about a new sponsor that I'm very excited about. This episode is brought to you by Code Comments, an original podcast from Red Hat. You know, when you're working on a project and you leave behind a small comment in the code, maybe you're hoping to help others learn what isn't clear at first. Sometimes that code comment tells a story of a challenging journey to the current state of the project. Code Comments, the podcast, features technologists who've been through tough tech transitions, and they share how their teams survived that journey. The host, Jamie Parker, is a Red Hatter and an experienced engineer. In each episode, Jamie recounts the stories of technologists from across the industry who've been on a journey implementing new technologies. I recently listened to an episode about DevOps from the folks at Worldwide Technology. The hardest challenge turned out to be getting buy-in on the new tech stack rather than using that tech stack directly. It's a message that we can all relate to, and I'm sure you can take some hard-won lessons back to your own team. Give Code Comments a listen. Search for Code Comments in your podcast player or just use our link, pythonbytes.fm/code-comments. The link is in your podcast player's show notes. Thank you to Code Comments for supporting the show.
Cool.
Yes, thank you indeed. Over to you, Ryan.
Well, we've talked in the past about Python coming to Excel, but I haven't tried it. So, I was kind of curious about this person that wrote up an article called "My Thoughts on Python in Excel," and this isn't just a rando person. Apparently, this is let's see, or maybe I don't know. They wrote a book on Python and Excel, or reported.
Or the creator of XL Wings, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah. As a creator of XL Wings, the author of the O'Reilly book Python for Excel, I was obviously curious to try it. So anyway, yeah, okay. Anyway, so somebody tried it out. Great. And this is from the XL Wings blog. So yeah, it's probably somebody that's worthwhile looking at this and actually really wanted it to work. So what what are their takeaways? And I'm just kind of loving this. We'll just run through them. He wanted it to be an alternative to VBA, but mostly got an alternative to the Excel formula language. Okay, so I thought it was going to be a VBA replacement as well. Apparently not. The integrating the Jupyter Notebook cells inside Excel Grid was a mistake. So not sure what they did there, but apparently they didn't like that. Python in Excel is not suitable for Python beginners nor for interactive data analysis. That's a bummer.
So there's that one person left.
Yeah. Right now there are too many restrictions. You can't use your own packages, you can't connect to the web APIs. So what are the current use cases? Probably computationally intensive things like Monte Carlo simulations, AI stuff via the included packages like scikit-learn, NLK, or NLTK, stats model, imbalance learn. Um, that makes sense, and so that's a good use case, I guess, for being able to use AI scikit-learn stuff in Excel. Nice. Being able to use matplotlib and Seaborn for visualizations. That's pretty cool because these are great packages. Time series analysis. But that's really about it. Said, not sure about data cleaning or data analysis since you're almost certainly need Power Query. I don't know what this is. Must be a Excel thing.
It's like a BI, Microsoft Office, Tableau type of thing, I believe.
Okay. So what's the conclusion here? Before we dive into details, I want to clarify that this is my personal opinion and not meant to be a rant or critique, but I'm amused by it. I've been in contact with the Excel team a few times, and they're super friendly. Okay, so he wants the whole thing to succeed, so we'll just that's good. So these are just interesting takeaways. One of the things, and then goes through a bunch of the little bits. And in more detail, the part that wasn't in the summary, which I find is interesting, is Python is not really in Excel; it's in the cloud, which I'm surprised by. Says,
Yeah.
as you've probably heard, but I hadn't, the Python that you're running runs in an Azure container instance, not inside Excel. That's just kind of weird, I think. Did you know this?
Yeah, I did, and it's interesting, and it means that you can't configure the environment, you can't control which Python is running, you can't install third-party packages that are not pre-approved, like you saw that there was a list of a couple of ML ones.
Okay.
If you don't like those, then you don't use it.
Well, can you do it when your laptop's disconnected, like when you're on an airplane or something?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just like quick to me, I was hoping for like some kind of VBA, like true automation that's sort of
Yeah.
beyond the cell, this cell, that cell, but kind of what you do with notebooks, and then sometimes you bring in like Excel writer or something to like actually save the stuff out or something, right? Like a little way to orchestrate bigger.
Okay.
But yeah, that
So
also, yeah. So it's just different.
it's just like stuff within a cell?
Well, multiple cells, but yes.
Okay. Well, it's not really what I was hoping for Python and Excel. So anyway,
Yeah, it's also not quite in it, right?
say that again?
It's not quite in it. But as I said, it's in the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is weird that it's got to be online only.
Yeah, that's kind of a deal breaker for me, but maybe I shouldn't be care that much, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
But one of the comments around that was that that it's not really a problem for a lot of people because a lot of people are using Excel are already sharing their data through OneDrive and SharePoint. And
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe that's a majority of corporations, but there's a lot of corporations like the one I'm in where we cannot do that because we don't want our stuff to go out anywhere. So anyway.
Yep.
Just an interesting takeaway of I guess if you've been hoping and thinking, this might be a good article to peruse just to make sure that it's really your use case before you jump in. So
yeah, good point. Christopher out there says, it's nice that it doesn't require Python to be installed locally, unlike Power BI, because I wouldn't be able to have my IT department install it. So that's an interesting bonus there. Navarro says, you gotta fight for your right to sudo. There you go.
But can't you? I mean, Python now, can't you install it on Windows machines? I think you can install it in like personal mode. That's just in your home directory or something.
Yeah.
I don't think you need like administrator privileges anymore. So
yeah, that's true with it's actually true with the Python in the Windows Store on Windows 10 and 11.
yeah.
Henry Schreiner on the audience, hey Henry, says this feels like the perfect use case for WASM. Sad it wasn't the default. Totally agree. Some Pyodide here would have been awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Not as awesome. The next thing I'm about to tell you, though, Brian.
Okay. What's the next thing?
This special live event course that I'm running.
All right. Cool.
So this is happening in October, and I'm doing a Code in a Castle event in Tuscany.
Oh, wow.
So this is a 6-day luxurious course in a luxurious Tuscan villa. And every morning we're going to wake up and we're going to spend 4 hours working on Python. And then the rest of the day is excursions and winery tours and other stuff around the Italian countryside.
This looks like fun.
Sounds awesome, huh?
Yeah.
So the course is going to be super fun. The course is, I called it Python 0 to Hero, but you don't have to actually be 0. Just you got to just like, there's probably some areas of this that would be you haven't had any experience with. So basically, it takes you from I'm maybe learning Python, maybe I know Python, but then talks about async and await, MongoDB, talks about we cover Fast API using HTMX. We'll be back to that in just a second. And building out awesome web apps and web APIs, and then performance testing this, and then deploying it to Linux. If we got time, maybe using Docker as well. So yeah, that's what the plan is, and it's going to be awesome. So if you are interested in being part of this, click the link in your player show notes and the episode show notes there, and I don't think I have a Python. I think I only have a Talk Python link. So talkpython.fm/castle is the link. And everyone, when they come, they get a room in the villa, and the room has up to 2 beds. So if you wanted to bring your wife or a good friend, there's actually a separate set of events for the people who are not in the course, but who are attending the event as like a companion or something. So there's like morning excursions as well.
Yeah, I was reading up on that, and it sounds really fun. So, what kind of event is this? pretty like some good quotes from people from last year, enjoying uh, the plus ones, having fun in the mornings. So
Yeah. Awesome. Maybe I'll just say the morning track. No, just kidding. So I forgot to mention, this is an extra, extra, extra. So this is number 1 of the extra. Okay.
okay, more.
Okay. More. So first one, code in a castle, learn Python, fast API, deployment, load testing, all that stuff. Hopefully you can be there. Number 2, I had this awesome use case for HTMX that is so incredibly clean that I just want to give people a feel for it. So, Brian, if you go to Talk Python, click on the courses, including your course here.
Okay.
You can see it has a price as $59. But if you're European, it would have a price in euros. If you were in India, you would have a price in something else. So in order to pull all that information in, this was usually fast, but periodically we'd have to hit our credit card processor for places that are less common. I tried to pre-compute all this, but it's like combinatorially out of control. So if you're like from a certain part of Greece where there's a certain tax that's different than another part of Greece, like all of that factors into what shows up on this page. So I just showed them without prices. I'm like, well, what if I could reload, like show the page and then recompute the page with prices? And if it takes 10 seconds for 50 API calls to the credit card processor, so be it. And maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. But if it's already seen that and it's saved to the database, we'll just show it to you basically really, really quick. So watch this. If I refresh it, you can see that it kind of flickers for a second and then the prices come back. All of that is in HTMX. And if you look at the implementation of it, 3 lines for that entire client-side implementation of show the page without prices instantly, start a computation to figure them all out, get the answer, and then rebuild the page out of that. Just div hx get some URL, hx trigger load, render partial. This is the implementation that both shows it on the first load without prices and then refreshes it and loads it with prices. Those 3 lines. And one of them is a /div.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Is that insane?
Yeah.
So, yeah, HTMX for the win. Just want to
nice use.
Encourage more people to use that. It lets you do more Python and less JavaScript, right? Because most set implementations on the server, which is where it's all Python.
Yeah, and one of those 3 lines is just the closing of the div. So it's really like 2 lines of code.
It's really like 2 lines. It's incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Another one, something I've been recently using, and some people will be like, Michael, where have you been all this time? Why have you not done this? I'll put this out to you as my test candidate. Did you know that if you find yourself sitting down to the terminal, SSH into a server, running a command, and then leaving often, even if that has like text output and all sorts of responses, colored text output like rich or whatever, you can just run that on your machine using SSH to execute a command remotely. Is this news to you?
No.
So you can say SSH for people who don't know. You can say SSH user at host and then in quotes some command. So like if you want to say tail your log and see what's happening on your server, instead of logging into the server over SSH and tailing it, you could just create an alias that says SSH user at host, do the tail log thing, and you just type it locally and just boom, you're tailing log. Beautiful. Right. Or whatever you want to do. And if you want to run multiple commands, just separate them by semicolons. Create a little alias for that bad boy, and off you go.
Yeah, nice.
So anyway, that's one of my extras.
I use it for so the reboot is built in, but we have an extra command that we do for restarting we have an application that we often have to restart. So doing a single command to SSH and run the restart to restart all the software. Do that a lot. So
yep. All right. I told you it's extra, extra, extra. There's still more extras, okay?
Okay. We got time.
Wow. These are short. So polyfill.io is a CDN, I believe, for JavaScript. Polyfill is if a browser doesn't support a feature, but you can implement it in JavaScript on top of the features that are there. You can include a script that's a polyfill, like add features to an old one, an old browser. Okay. So apparently, according to Bleeping Computer, this thing has been impacted by a supply chain attack where a Chinese company acquired the domain and then the script was modified to redirect users to malicious and scam sites. And
No.
everyone who had that in their web app, 100,000 different websites, the CDN got a new version of the script for you.
Oh, geez.
Which means it's time for required reading from Wesley Apteker Castle's Reasons to Avoid CDNs in JavaScript. I'll do my highlighted one here. Look,
Wow.
systemic risk. It says one of the CDNs out there supports 12.5% of all websites. If that goes down, having 12.5% of the internet vanish is silly. We've swung too far away from resiliency as a society. Privacy, obviously, because they can track everyone who makes a request to that and coordinate that across browsers and sites. They say speed, but if you're using HTTP2, it doesn't matter that much. You could use your own CDN. Security. This points out that modern browsers have sub-resource integrity. Basically, you put a hash onto it, and if you're using a CDN, put the hash in there. That way, if something like this happens, it won't load the page. Like the browsers are like, no, it doesn't match. I'm not running this, which is good. Unfortunately, this doesn't work for libraries that are split into multiple pieces, where one thing requires another type of deal as part of it. So what to do instead? Just download it is what they say. Although what we do, Brian, over at Python Bytes is we just download it, but then we serve that content back over our own CDN at bunny.net. Well, it's not ours, but the one we use at bunny.net, which still gives it all the global reach, but we control whether or not it changes, not other people, which is awesome. Okay. And just to keep beating the drum, major ad networks are basically malware delivering funnels, and don't feel bad about ad blockers. Mac users served info stealer malware through Google Ads. So why not? Who wouldn't want that?
Oh, geez.
So that's an article on Ars Technica you can check out. But that's my extra. Hear all about it.
Okay.
Nice. You got extras?
I do, but I've got a link that I can't show.
Okay.
So I want you to go to either in the notes or the private chat and click on that link. And we'll talk about it. It's called I will effing pile drive you if you mention the AI again. So it's just it's a funny reaction to all this ChatGPT stuff and AI and everything. And it's the interesting position. So this is somebody that was studying data science. They're in I think they're in college, and they're doing grad school stuff now, doing a master's thesis. But he's kind of sick of a lot of the hype around AI. So it's just an interesting take on it, and it's so funny. If you'd like to have an alternative, if you're tired of all the hype around AI and you'd like to read somebody else's perspective, click the link in the show notes, and it'll be an interesting read for you. The reason why I'm not showing it is because I want to keep this child friendly and safe for this for the live feed. So anyway,
thanks, Brian. We'll check it out.
That's my only extra.
All right. So, well, let's close this out with a joke, huh?
Yeah, let's do that.
By the way, I have this AI fatigue as well. It's like ChatGPT is cool, Llama 3 is cool, but like not everything needs to have AI in it. And certainly a lot of times software use has just like easy to solve persistent bugs because the whole team is like on an AI mission. And you're like, I don't want any of this junk. Could you just make it when I click this that it works?
Yeah.
All right, off to the joke. Over on Reddit, we have something called the HTML hacker. We just talked about like the malware, right? So this is sort of two sides of the picture. Both people don't see either side really. So woman, she says, my boyfriend is a programmer. He'll hack. He says, don't mess with me. My boyfriend is a programmer. He'll hack your world into oblivion. Meanwhile, the boyfriend on his computer, Google, how to declare variables in HTML.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Both things can be true at the same time. He also could be a hacker and still not know how to declare variables in HTML. You never know.
I don't know how to declare variables in HTML. Can you declare variables in HTML?
No.
No. Okay.
But you can in like modern CSS and, you know.
Well,
know.
okay. So one of the things I think is funny about this is because sometimes in the movies you'll see somebody like pouring through lines of code, and then you look at it, and it's just like the view source of some web page or something. It's like that's not, and like you're not hacking anything. That you're just looking at the web
Guys,
page.
I found the source to this web page. I'm going in.
Ooh. Yeah.
Wow. And I've got the JavaScript next. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe they just published this and don't hide it. Yeah. So anyway, that's funny.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
That's it.
Thanks a lot for a great episode.
Yeah. Fun as always. Catch you later. Bye, everyone.